morning, evening, or night, wherever you are, welcome to WHAM today. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and let's drift through the whispers of today's world, one quiet thought at a time. As we wrap up Tuesday, 12th August 2025, let's see what stories are unfolding around us. Saudi Arabia is seeing economic growth across various sectors, with the automotive components market predicted to hit $10.20 billion by 2030. Online gaming, halal cosmetics, CCTV, and carpet and rugs markets are also expanding. Education-related point-of-sale transactions reached $3 billion, compensating for dips elsewhere. Saudi Arabia's mining sector ranks 23rd globally in the Fraser Institute Index, with cost management being key to further growth. The Saudi stock market is performing well, and bank credit has increased 15% to $849 in Q2 2025. SAIC reported net losses of $29.30 million, and Caminal experienced deepened net losses of $124.80 million in on 25. Doha International aims to enter the advisory business and is bidding for a majority stake in Neo Group. Da Global's gross development value rose 67% to $12.50 billion due to Saudi expansion and entry into financial services. Al Rajhi Partners, a Saudi-based company, is supporting a UK logistics fund. The country may recruit skilled nurses from Bangladesh. Saudi Arabia's potential role related to India, and the U.S. tariff policies is under discussion. An investment in BPCL and on-sea refineries in India is expected within 7-8 months. Bahri, a shipping giant, has denied claims of supplying goods to Israel. The Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC, region has witnessed a 9% increase in asset management, reaching $2.20 trillion, largely due to growth in Saudi Arabia and the UAE. In other news, Yuan Wissa is unlikely to transfer to a Saudi Arabian team. China is facing economic challenges as the Evergrande group is set to be delisted from the Hong Kong Stock Exchange on August 25 due to unmet trading resumption requirements. Micron Technology has begun laying off hundreds of employees in mainland China, citing weakness in the mobile NAND memory market. Chinese firms have reportedly been instructed to avoid using NVIDIA's H20 chips, even after the chipmaker received approval to resume shipments. Unitree founder WHAM Xing believes the lack of advanced artificial intelligence is hindering robot deployment. China is sanctioning Lithuanian banks, Orban bankas, and Abmano bankas in response to EU sanctions against Chinese financial institutions tied to Russia. Furthermore, China has launched an anti-dumping investigation into pea starch imported from Canada, seen as retaliation for Canadian tariffs on Chinese steel. In military matters, Chinese officials assert they drove away a U.S. warship near the disputed Scarborough Shoal, following a collision between a Chinese warship and Coast Guard vessel. The United States trade policies under the Trump administration are shifting. While higher tariffs on Chinese goods have been delayed, and a softer stance toward China has emerged, duties have been imposed on India and Brazil. A potential agreement involving NVIDIA and AMD, giving the Trump administration a cut of chip sales to China, raises national security and trade policy concerns. Lithuania finds two of its banks, Urbo bankas and Abmano bankas, targeted by Chinese sanctions following the EU's actions against Chinese financial institutions linked to Russia. Canada is now subject to a Chinese anti-dumping investigation into pea starch imports, a reaction to Canada's own tariffs on Chinese steel. The United States saw its July budget deficit rise 20% year-over-year, even with record tariff income from the Trump administration and a 273% surge in customs revenue. A Chinese-owned aircraft was detained in Russia. The New York Times reported as suspicions of Russian hacking into the federal court filing system. Analysts predict the U.S. and China tariff truce will yield limited agreements on export controls and goods purchases, stopping short of major breakthroughs. Russia is poised to avoid a recession, despite a slowing economy. The Russian stock market anticipates peace, even as the economy operates in a wartime state. Past due mortgage and auto loan debt in Russia has nearly doubled, signaling economic strain. Russia's demands for a peace agreement with Ukraine remain consistent, requiring a complete Ukrainian withdrawal from Moscow-claimed regions. Further complicating matters, a Chinese-owned aircraft was detained in Russia. Avmax, a subsidiary of Shanghai Intelligent, received us $23 in insurance payouts for 3 planes it leased to Russian clients. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is scheduled to meet with Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar in Moscow on August 24th. China now sees a Chinese-owned aircraft detained in Russia, while Avmax, a subsidiary of Shanghai Intelligent, received us $23 in insurance payouts for 3 planes leased to Russian clients. The extended tariff truce between the U.S. and China is expected to result in limited agreements concerning export controls and goods purchases, with major breakthroughs not anticipated. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban declared that Russia has won the war in Ukraine. India will have its External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Moscow on August 25. Ukraine faces Russia's continued demand for a peace agreement contingent on full Ukrainian withdrawal from regions claimed by Moscow. India's stock market saw gains, propelled by encouraging us inflation figures that uplifted global markets and heightened expectations of a future Federal Reserve rate cut. The BSE Sensex increased by 304 points, and the Nifty 50 by 131 points on August 13th, further supported by a reduction in domestic retail inflation. Despite this, a Bank of America Corp. survey suggests a shift in fund manager sentiment, moving India from the most to least favored Asian stock market, potentially influenced by President Trump's tariff action. Economically, the London Stock Exchange Group is considering dual listings for Indian companies, and Perplexity Finance is broadening its coverage of the Indian market, with live stock market data from the BSE and NSE. A bill to create a national minerals exchange has been introduced by India's Ministry of Mines. Looking at international relations, India and China are planning to restart direct flights, potentially improving relations. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar is set to visit Moscow following the U.S. tariff announcement concerning India. Europe experienced a surge in its stock markets, mirroring record highs on Wall Street, propelled by a U.S.-China tariff truce and encouraging us economic data. Investor confidence was further bolstered by anticipation of a possible Federal Reserve rate reduction. Adding to the positive momentum, European exchange-traded funds, ETFs, witnessed unprecedented inflows, fueled by a diversification away from U.S. equities. Meanwhile, European nations are intensifying pressure on Iran to re-engage in nuclear discussions, warning of the potential reinstatement of snapback sanctions linked to its uranium enrichment activities should talks remain stalled. The global stage is set with oil prices under pressure, and all eyes are on the impending meeting between former U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The discussions are expected to address the ongoing crisis in Ukraine. Adding to the tension, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has firmly stated that Ukraine will not concede the Donbas region as part of any peace settlement with Russia. Ukraine has also claimed responsibility for an attack on a crucial Russian oil pipeline hub, escalating the conflict's economic dimension. Across the Atlantic in the UK, former U.S. Vice President Mike Pence and J.D. Vance faced protests from Stop Trump activists during their summer visit. The activists made their opposition to the politician's policies and presence clearly known. Separately, Rolls-Royce is looking to the future, with company leadership suggesting that advancements in nuclear-powered artificial intelligence could propel the company to become the UK's largest firm. Vietnam is embarking on a major economic overhaul, aspiring to become Asia's next tiger economy. This ambition is underscored by increasing economic cooperation with South Korea, evidenced by the exchange of cooperation documents focusing on the energy and digital sector. Further strengthening ties, South Korean and Vietnamese entities are collaborating on cultural and technological fronts, including a co-production deal between 645 director Park Joo-tae and a Vietnamese counterpart for the film, Saigon Oppa. In the financial technology sector, Dynamo and MB Bank are preparing to launch Vietnam's first cryptocurrency exchange. South Korea will also supply Vietnam with 5,000 drones and 100 million chips. Japan's stock market is booming as the Nikkei 225 and TOPIX indexes hit record highs, echoing Wall Street's optimism after encouraging U.S. inflation figures that hint at potential Federal Reserve rate cuts. Japan also experienced a slowdown in wholesale inflation for the fourth straight month in July. In a lighter vein, McDonald's Japan had to wrap up its Pokémon card Happy Meal promotion earlier than planned due to high demand. South Korea saw the imprisonment of its former First Lady after court issued a warrant, meaning she will join her husband in jail while he faces trial for attempting to impose martial law. Economically, South Korean unemployment has fallen, but weak private sector hiring is still a concern. In the cryptocurrency sector, Exchange Bithum has listed Town's token to enhance cryptocurrency accessibility within South Korea, and BTC treasury firm Genius Group is pursuing a listing in South Korea to gain entry into Asian markets. Singapore's resorts, World Sentosa, under CEO Lee Shi-ru is gearing up for its critical license renewal assessment by the Gambling Regulatory Authority in 2026. Meanwhile, in the United States, Duc Nguyen, the co-founder of Singapore-based Terraform Labs, admitted guilt to fraud charges stemming from the dramatic 40 billion cryptocurrency crash, a case with global financial repercussions. Australia's stock market has surged to a record peak, buoyed by anticipations of further interest rate reduction. Wage growth is maintaining a steady pace, shaping the nuances of the market. The Commonwealth Bank of Australia, CBA, has announced an unprecedented annual profit. However, investors responded by divesting shares, deeming them overpriced. Shifting our focus to Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is facing scrutiny over allegations of foreign interference in recent elections. Opposition parties are demanding a public inquiry into the matter. The allegations threaten to undermine public trust in the democratic process. Trudeau's government is under pressure to address these concerns transparently and decisively. Across the Atlantic, France is grappling with widespread protests against pension reforms. President Emmanuel Macron's plan to raise the retirement age has ignited significant public opposition. Labor unions are leading the demonstrations, which have disrupted daily life across the country. The government is struggling to find a compromise to quell the unrest. Meanwhile, Germany is facing increasing pressure from its allies to increase defense spending. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has highlighted the need for greater military preparedness. Chancellor Olaf Scholz's government is considering options to meet NATO's defense spending targets. This shift in policy reflects the evolving geopolitical landscape, but Taiwan is currently seeing a surge in economic activity fueled by the AI boom. This has resulted in substantial foreign investment in Taiwanese stocks, pushing the Taiwan Stock Index towards a potential record high. Meanwhile, Typhoon Podol has led to school and office closures as the nation braces for heavy rainfall. In the latest from Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is facing increasing pressure regarding foreign interference allegations. Opposition parties are calling for a public inquiry into claims that China attempted to influence the 2019 and 2021 federal elections. These allegations include claims of illegal campaign donations and the targeting of specific candidates. Turning to France, President Emmanuel Macron is focused on pension reforms despite widespread public opposition. The proposed changes aim to raise the retirement age and increase contribution periods, sparking protests and strikes across the country. Macron argues these reforms are necessary to ensure the long-term sustainability of the French pension system. Across the Atlantic, the United States is grappling with ongoing debates about gun control legislation. Following recent mass shootings, President Joe Biden is urging Congress to pass stricter gun laws, including universal background checks and a ban on assault weapons. However, significant Republican opposition remains a major hurdle to legislative action. Asian markets are generally up, buoyed by positive U.S. inflation data that's fueling a rally in U.S. stocks. Japan's Nikkei 225 is approaching record levels. Tariffs, however, continue to loom as a threat to global economic growth, already impacting car makers. Switzerland is expanding its sanctions against Russia, aligning with EU policy and further lowering the price cap on Russian oil. The country is also bracing for potential economic challenges from possible U.S. tariffs. South Africa's business confidence has reached a 4-month peak, even as tariffs remain a potential economic headwind. The nation is strengthening its position as a technology and cloud computing hub in sub-Saharan Africa. South Africa has also voiced criticism of the U.S. regarding a flawed human rights report. Equity Group is now extending its banking services to Ugandans residing within South Africa. Brazil witnessed a slower pace of annual inflation in July, surpassing analyst expectations. The Nuvini Group Limited has announced the Nuvini Prize, aimed at encouraging innovation in AI within Brazil's B2B software sector. Canada will see Hans Brands acquired by Gildan Activewear in a transaction valued at $4 billion in cash and stock. The S&P TSX Composite Index in Canada has also shown gains. Thailand's stock market and currency are anticipated to benefit from increased capital inflows, a consequence of the Bank of Thailand's move to ease monetary policy to stimulate the economy. Germany's property bank PB is withdrawing from the U.S. market following financial losses. A German bank has also finalized a £36 million buy-in agreement with Pension Insurance Corporation, PIC, concerning its defined benefit DB scheme. Norway's $2 trillion sovereign wealth fund will continue its investment strategy in Israel, according to comments from the NBI deputy CEO. Oman's Sohar International is contemplating acquiring a controlling interest in Saudi Arabia's Neo Group. Estonia has expelled a Russian diplomat for violating sanctions. Israel will see Diginex acquire its cybersecurity company, findings for $305 million. Across Africa, despite overall gains, ES Towers is experiencing a decline in profits. Turkey will host the foreign minister of Syria for high-level discussions. Montenegro saw Duquan, the founder of Luna and Taraz cryptocurrencies, plead guilty to 2 counts of fraud following the collapse of his currencies in 2022. And that's a wrap for today's news, because even headlines need a nap. Stay curious, stay kind, and let the noise fade as you find your quiet. Take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you next time on WHAM Today.